Hey Cowboys Nation, let's go for another round of news from America's team. Watch until the end so you don't miss any news and sign up to stay tuned for everything that comes out about the Cowboys.
Micah Parsons' brother says Dallas Cowboys LB, going nowhere. Micah Parsons is quite possibly the face of the Dallas Cowboys today, but there seems to be some tension brewing between player and team. Last week, a report emerged that Parsons' antics have worn thin on some members of the organization. The star linebacker is certainly a colorful personality on and off the field, but he's still an all-world player who has had virtually unprecedented success in his first 3 seasons. Some have speculated that leaking such information is a way for the Cowboys to gain leverage in contract negotiations, but bad-mouthing your best defensive player isn't exactly the wisest decision. Even with some signs of tension, it still seems like a long-term extension is the result that both parties want. Parsons' brother, Terrence Parsons Jr., even alluded to that fact in a recent social media post. Terrence, who has a habit of trying to interject himself in the news, is probably right, as most observers think the Cowboys would be absolute fools to let Parsons leave. The number 12 pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, Parsons has been a monster since his arrival in Dallas. The Penn State product has had one of the most prolific starts to his career of any pass rusher, racking up 40.5 sacks in his first 3 seasons. He's also finished top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year voting each season of his career. If the Cowboys are truly fed up with Parsons' behavior, they're either going to have to deal with it or part ways with one of the best defensive players in the league. And there is a right and wrong answer among those two. And as our Mike Fisher has said, if the effort is to get him to focuses more on winning rather than on being colorful, the Cowboys should simply instruct him to do that, rather than demonstrating their own absence of focus. Dallas Cowboys. Why the team should sign Odell Beckham Jr. The Dallas Cowboys need a wide receiver, and one of the names that is still a free agent is wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. He played last season for the Baltimore Ravens. Beckham Jr. and the Ravens reached the AFC Championship game before losing to the eventual champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. Odell Beckham Jr. caught 35 passes for 565 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns, along with averaging 16.1 yards per catch. He was targeted 64 times last season. He is 31 years old and there are some other teams that are interested in him. The Miami Dolphins are one of those teams that are interested in him. The Dallas Cowboys should sign Odell Beckham Jr. because CeeDee Lamb needs another wide receiver opposite him. Lamb is the top wide receiver on the Cowboys and he will be again this season. They had no production outside of him last season. Beckham Jr. would be a much better fit than Michael Gallup or Brandon Cooks as the number 2 wide receiver for Dallas. Odell Beckham Jr. is way more talented than 2 wide receivers. If they were to sign him, they could focus on using another position with the 24th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft rather than potentially drafting a wide receiver. However, it wouldn't hurt to sign Beckham Jr. and draft another wide receiver anyway. Some of the other needs Dallas has are the offensive line, defensive line, and running back. They wouldn't take a running back in the first round, but using that selection on an offensive lineman and defensive lineman would help out this football team a lot. Dallas has not signed many free agents this offseason. That has made fans angry at owner Jerry Jones and other people within the organization. They won the NFC East title last season with a 12-5 record and were the number 2 seed in the NFC before losing to the Green Bay Packers in the NFC wildcard round. Dallas needs to make some changes to the roster before the 2024 season begins, and wide receiver is one of the positions that does need help. Having quarterback Dak Prescott not rely on only CeeDee Lamb would be nice for him. Odell Beckham Jr. would be a really good number 2 on this roster as long as he can stay healthy. It is worth the risk for this season anyway. Dallas is in win-now mode and that is somewhere Beckham Jr. would want to be. Adam Schefter suggests Cowboys could surprise with early quarterback pick. It might be time for the Dallas Cowboys to begin pondering life without Dak Prescott at quarterback. In the aftermath of the Cowboys and Prescott agreeing that the star quarterback would play out the final year of his contract in 2024, ESPN's Adam Schefter suggests that Dallas might select a quarterback in the early rounds of this year's NFL draft. What are they going to do at quarterback if they lose Doc? Schefter said, during an April 9 edition of NFL Live on ESPN. That's interesting. And that's why I think the Dallas Cowboys just might be a sleeper team in the quarterback market in the NFL draft. Because, at some point in time, they might have to draft a quarterback, higher than you'd think, at some point in time, because Doc is going into the last year of the contract, and it might be time to get somebody in there to start grooming. Just like they found Dak Prescott in round 4, it might be time to go find another quarterback, in another round, to begin getting him ready. The Cowboys' offseason, and handling of Prescott's contract situation has been an intertangled, perplexing series of events. Rather than signing Prescott to an extension which would have created cap space, the Cowboys have stood pat while only signing Eric Kendricks and Jordan Lewis as outside free agents. Given that Prescott is just 2 to 5 lifetime in the NFL playoffs, and the Cowboys are fresh off getting waxed in the NFC wildcard round by the Green Bay Packers, 48-32, perhaps Jerry Jones has at least one eye trained on Dallas' future at quarterback. Cowboys' Dak Prescott uncertainty. Neither the Cowboys nor Prescott showed much urgency to come to terms on a reworked deal. Prescott is set to collect a $29 million base salary in 2024, while counting $55.4 million against the cap. As ESPN's Todd Archer points out, the next deadline for the Cowboys and Prescott to come to terms on a deal is March 12, 2025, the 5th day of the new league year. Without a new contract by then, Archer writes, Prescott will count at least $40.46 million against the 2025 salary cap, and he will not be on the Cowboys roster. With a contract done before then, Prescott's cap number will be at least $25 million as a result of the restructures the Cowboys have used on the current deal, including converting his $5 million roster bonus earlier this month. Add in the yearly proration of a new signing bonus plus his base salary, and it's likely Prescott's cap number on an extension will exceed $40 million in 2025. It's difficult to envision the Cowboys paying Prescott that kind of money against the cap to be lining up behind center elsewhere, which makes the organization's posturing around its quarterback this offseason all the more confounding. Especially given the uncertainty surrounding pass rusher Micah Parsons and wide receiver CeeDee Lamb's futures, with both up for extensions. If Prescott plays well in 2024, and leads the Cowboys on a deep playoff run, the 30-year-old will hold even more leverage next offseason and will likely be the most coveted veteran quarterback on the market. Playoffs or bust for Prescott, McCarthy? Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy is a lame duck in 2024, and Prescott is likely playing for his future. While there is a possibility that Prescott might need to lead the Cowboys to the franchise's first Super Bowl berth this century in order to remain in Dallas, CBS Sports believes the Cowboys could miss the postseason entirely. They've still got elite playmakers on both sides of the ball, but Jerry Jones is all but forcing his quarterback-head coach duo into an ultimatum season, with Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy under pressure to make a deep run, CBS Sports writes. Meanwhile, Prescott's O-line has real questions, the defense has new management, and they've not upgraded skill spots.